An opera house in Israel may seem like an unlikely place to challenge the U.S. But it's here, in a nation considered one of America's strongest allies, that China has launched what some call a cultural offensive. It is spending millions on events like these to forge ties with countries that have traditionally favored relationships with the West. Lessons on Chinese culture used to involve taking opera and traditional dress. But as officials are keen to point out, this is a public relations exercise to introduce the new China.
A lot of people just have a very outdated information about China. They think that China is very backward and very poor, but actually China changed a lot.
And changed in a powerful way. The country's navy is today actively involved in international efforts to protect ships from pirates off the coast of Somalia. Its soldiers have taken part in 16 of the last 24 UN peacekeeping missions. And once a recipient of aid, China now donates billions to poorer nations. Here, Chinese workers help build a government office in East Timor. When China first opened its doors to the outside world in the early 80s, Deng Xiaoping, its leader at the time, urged the country to keep its head down and focus on development at home. And for a while, that worked. But the nation has since outgrown its borders. In international arenas like the UN, the Asian giant is demanding a greater say. Its diplomats this year have openly challenged the U.S. by blocking American-led sanctions on Myanmar, North Korea, and Iran.
China right now is realizing that it has interests outside of China, and it needs to start taking care of those interests on its own.
Those interests are primarily about securing energy and raw materials. Across Africa, Chinese-built sports stadiums stand as a symbol of the nation's deal-making. Aid money in return for the rights to drill. Pursuing self-interest is nothing new for rising nations. But analysts say in this case there is cause for concern.
There's one reason why we would see it being a threat, because China's got the political model it has at the moment. Of the world's top 10 economies, it's the only one that's a one-party state.
A one-party state intent on developing its military might, which was proudly displayed as the country celebrated its 60th anniversary in October. At $70 billion US, China now ranks second only to the US in military spending. Still, authorities insist the world has nothing to fear.
China unswervingly follows the path of peaceful development. In international affairs, we want to act as a positive and constructive player.
But it is a player increasingly sensitive about territory and what's theirs. Tensions are high over a disputed border with India. And earlier this year, Chinese vessels boldly tried to block a U.S. ship suspected of spying off China's coast. It was in international waters. In Tel Aviv, the cultural event draws a record crowd. With China's influence and ambitions only expected to grow, there is little question the world is paying attention. Steve Chao, Al Jazeera.